Yeah. There's a All right. Okay. If everyone is ready, we're going to call to order the regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, September the 14th, 2021. I'd ask if you're here, if you would silence your cell phones. And City Clerk, if you would call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Thank you.
In just a moment, we're going to have an invocation, and after that, I'll ask you to remain standing for the pledge. Before we do that, though, I want to share with you, we have a member of the New Smyrna family, a member of our team and squad, one of our firefighters, young man with a young wife and young children, Jeremy McElfresh, that is experienced a medical issue, and he's in ICU right now with his family and fighting for his life. So I'd ask for your personal faith, remember him in your faith, certainly keep his family in your hearts, and Chaplain, if you would, as you give the invocation, if you'd remember Jeremy and his family. And so with that, we'll rise for the invocation, then stay standing for the pledge.
Let us pray. Most holy and most gracious and kind God, it is once again that we come before you with thanksgiving, allowing us, oh God, to just come and to have life. And we ask now, oh God, as we turn our attention to doing those things of business that would help to make our city better, we pray, oh God, that you will be in the hearts and minds and the souls of each and every person that make the decision. May they make it with wisdom and understanding that we're people and that we care and that we want to live in unity, peace, and in love. And God, we ask a special blessing upon Fireman Jeremy and his family, that you would touch his body, that you would bring restoration and health, that you would bring comfort to them as well as they go through this most trying time. We pray that you would be with each and every one in his care, direct them to those things that will be necessary to help to make sure that he receives the attention that is much needed. We thank you that you allow us to come before you, and we give you glory, honor, and praise. In Christ we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Khaled, any changes to the agenda tonight?
No changes, sir. Just the agenda that is printed outside in the lobby has an item that is not supposed to be on the agenda. I don't know how it's got there, but just to make sure, we only stop at 6U under 6 items, so there is no 6V in this agenda.
All right, so if you were here for item 6V, that is not on the agenda tonight. Don't know how that happened, but we all have just item 6A through U on the agenda tonight that we'll be considering. So,
I do have one, sir.
yes.
Item 6P is withdrawn, as that's not an item that the City Commission can approve at this time.
Okay, so 6P is withdrawn. So if you were here for item 6P, after further research, that's an item that essentially, long story short, is legislated at the state level. They've preempted this request. Essentially, we would not be able to grant this request because of laws that were passed back in 2006, was it?
2007.
2007, and they're still trying to figure out how to manage that. So we'll give them a few more years. They'll get it. It's only been 14 years. I mean, these things take time.
So please clarify, they will not be able to have that venue?
So, yeah, the state made a rule back in 2008, briefly. The state made a rule back in 2008 that said a municipality, as part of a fire control thing related to fireworks, they said that an entity could only issue as many permits as they had issued the previous year until further guidance was given. That was in 2008, so we looked at our 07 permits. We had issued 0. So therefore, we cannot issue any permits pursuant to the state statute. And again, that further guidance has yet to come from the state. They have, interestingly enough, readdressed that section just recently in 2020, I think it was. But they left that section completely as it was, unchanged. So we don't have the power to issue that permit for that specific use. Or, I mean, we could, but it would be in violation of that state guidance, that particular statute, which city attorney would be happy to share with you.
Thank you.
So yeah, item 6P, I guess that is pulled from the agenda. We will not be considering that. Okay, with that, the agenda is approved. We have no announcements or recognitions at this time. So the first item up is public participation. I have a few words on that real quick before we begin. So this is your chance to address the commission. This isn't a speech to the audience. This is a chance to address the commission on your concerns. It's our turn to listen. We come back, we follow up on those items, usually at the end of the meeting, sometimes at the end of public participation. We really won't go back and forth with you. So I know a lot of folks want to get up and they kind of want us to answer them right away, but that it doesn't work. It's not good decorum. So this is your chance to make your case, make your comments, take your 3 minutes, address those comments to the commission, and then at the end of that time, we'll follow up if there's follow up at the end of that public participation. So there's a timer in front of you. If you would speak into the mic, stick to your 3 minutes, and give your name and address as you begin for the public record. So with that, anyone here for public participation, this is your chance. Come right up to the podium. It's first come, first serve around here. I think it's the first. It's a first for the. I got a policeman. Yes, right. His is better. So come on up. We trust you. You're not going to do anything crazy.
I appreciate you all hearing me. I'm here for a safety issue. I'm a softball player here in New Smyrna. I play all over the state.
What's your name and address?
John Robbins,
Yep.
Robbins. I live at 105 Quiet Circle in Port Orange. The reason why I'm here is the city we have a senior softball league, and we have a mixture of players like myself. I'm 53 years old. I use this bat like this. This is a brand new one. I want to pass it around and show you how light it was. These bats are weapons now. They're actually designed to trampoline the ball off the bat. So when I hit the ball...
You got to talk to me up here, man.
When I hit the ball comes off my bat at 103 miles an hour off of a tee. The pitcher is 50 foot away. You don't blink that fast. I have testimonial here. I have an article where a guy was just hit in the neck. He stroked out, seized like he was shot, and he died before he hit the ground. These masks, Gary Cicero has a mask. They don't protect the back of your head. They don't protect your neck. They don't protect your heart. They don't protect all these things. You have a bullet being shot at you, people. This is unbelievable that the city is allowing this league to participate without a net when you have 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, and 80-year-olds on the field. I spent 12 days in ORMC. My whole face was shattered. I can't feel my teeth from here over. My septum was pushed up within 2 millimeters of my brain, and I was playing shortstop. I was 90-plus feet back in the grass, and I couldn't react. There are guys out there that are 6'5", way bigger than me. I can control my bat. There's guys out there that are just rec players. They get up and swing for the fence as hard as they can. An outside pitch out here will go up the middle at the pitcher. I don't care what you have on. You have your neck exposed, you have your heart exposed, you have ankles exposed. Gary Cicero
you got to talk to me.
almost lost his leg. This is a serious, and we are the only city in the entire state of Florida that doesn't have a net for a senior softball league. How's that for a fact?
Is that for the pitcher, sir?
Yeah. This is the pitcher. A pitcher is 50 foot away. 50 foot is about from here to that wall. Serving it up. We have older gentlemen that can't run back and create space to protect themselves. They're putting a mask. Oh, we have a mask now, and we're using a different ball. There's different balls, but these balls, there is no measurable distance from 50 foot away batted off the bat. These balls are called restricted flight balls. They are misleading you. The restricted flight ball is designed not to fly over the fence. But from me to you, there is no difference. Zero. I had those balls in this bag. Just as hard. They're designed, the threads are thicker, so when you, in resistance, friction, they don't fly as far. Okay, that's it. But from me to you, they're deadly.
Yeah.
I have the city of Port Orange's rules here. They do not allow you to step on the field without a net. Every city around here does that. This is unbelievable. He will yield his time to me, if that's okay.
What's that? Yeah, we
I
don't
would like
really
to
yield time, but if he wants to speak, he can. You
I would like to
you can
read.
give that to the
I
clerk.
would like to read one thing.
He can, so we have 3 minutes per person. If he wants to yield time, he can read whatever he's going to read. But if we start doing that, it's
He's a
going
bit shy, so if
Yeah.
you would allow me just to read this, and then I'll be done.
he can, we have 3 minutes per person.
A Loudoun
sir.
County man died
we
Saturday
have-
after
we
a
have
freak
3
accident
minutes-
on the softball diamond.
We have 3 minutes per person. If we have decorum, we have things we got to follow. So you've got
But
your 3
proper
minutes.
etiquette, somebody can yield
You've
their
got-
time. It happens all the time.
It doesn't happen in this chamber. It's never happened in this chamber before, so we're not doing it now. We're not
The
doing it
city
tonight.
doesn't implement a safety
we're not-
net for
we're not doing it
people either.
tonight.
It's insane to me. It's
Okay,
insane.
you've made that case. We're going to talk about that. You've had your 3 minutes. I'm happy to hear from others if they have the time, but we're doing 3 minutes per person.
Gary,
Any others wish to speak tonight? Come ahead.
if you want to read this, it's not that long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Gary Cicero. My address is 611 Ipswich Lane in Port Orange, and I am a player out in that league. Okay, fun-loving, humanitarian father of 6 killed in softball accident. Ball batted back to the pitcher. By Jane Wattrell, published April 26, 2010, and then updated April 28, 2010 at 4:12. A Loudoun County man died Saturday after a freak accident on a softball diamond. Well-known custom home builder George Crisp, 55 years old, was pitching an adult softball game when a ball was batted back at him. George pitched the ball. The guy hit a line drive toward him. He turned his head to avoid it. Just like you would, tried to put his glove up, said Mr. Crisp's friend David Pittman, a pastor at Temple Baptist Church in Herndon, Virginia. Didn't get his glove up in time, hit him right here, underneath the ear. The line drive hit Crisp in the throat just below his jaw, rupturing his carotid artery. Blood flowed to his brain in seconds. Crisp, a father of 6, died a few hours later in a local hospital. It happened so quickly, Pittman said, in just the 12-hour period, he's gone from being the life of the party to being in home in heaven. Crisp actually talked about dying on the softball field, according to his son-in-law, George Call. He thought it would be ideal to have it happen when you're doing something you love, Call recalls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pardon? They don't need to see me.
Thank you, sir.
I did get hit in my ankle without a screen in front of me, and I almost lost my foot. I had 2 surgeries, staph infection. So the issue in front of us is important if you have an interest in safety and, playing softball as we do.
Sure.
So I do support Mr. Robbins in his attempt here. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Mr. Robbins, I just want to tell you, feel free to reach out to me through email or phone, and I'll be more than happy to talk with you about it.
Can I give you?
You could leave that with the clerk. Yep. Yep. Any others for public participation today? Any others here? Yes, Ashton.
I'll give these to him when she's done. Ashton Sigler, Government Affairs Director for the New Smyrna Beach Board of Realtors, 725 West Canal Street. I have 2 things for you guys. The one thing is our On Common Ground, which is a magazine that our National Association has every year. This one's all about neighborhoods, walkability, and things like that we've kind of been talking about a little bit in the last couple of meetings. The other thing is our flyer for our Smart Growth Summit, which will be on October 18th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Hidden Lakes Golf Club. It's free to everyone that would like to come and attend. Lunch will be included. We're going to be talking about affordable housing, environmental impact, and vibrant livability. And we're going to have some awesome speakers. One of them is in the room. Mr. Storch will be speaking. And we'll also have some speakers from the county and our National Association. So I just want to hand these to Kelly and she can pass them out to you.
Thank you. Any others for public participation tonight? All right. Seeing none, we will close public participation. I just want to make two comments real quick. We just heard from a gentleman that I don't believe that's on the agenda tonight. So number one is with respect to yielding time, and the commission can correct me, we've never had that request before. So a little bit of an on-the-fly decision. My thought on that, though, is we could essentially have someone filibuster a meeting if we allow that precedent to be set, because all of a sudden you could have 100 people yield their time to one person. They give some, Shakespearean oratory for 3 hours, and they filibuster the topic. So I think that's a dangerous precedent to set. So I think how we've done it historically has worked well for us. So that's the reason I made that decision in the time. Although we certainly want to hear from the public, and as the commissioner said, we have a lot more time outside of this meeting than we do sitting here. So we're always open to talking to folks outside of the meeting. And on that issue particularly, just a question for staff. Have we given the league the option of, we're not telling them they can't use nets, right? We haven't mandated they don't use nets. Is that a correct statement?
We gave them the options, and they chose the option to provide insurance, naming the city as additional insured.
So we
They were given the option to use the net. I mean, we didn't force
So
them.
the league is a private, it's not a city-run league. We don't run the league, right?
It's a city league.
It's a city league?
Yeah, well, it's run by them, but it's a city league. So David,
But it's run by them. They have a board of,
yeah. Come on, David.
Dave, you want? I don't want to get too deep into this. We may need to add it to an agenda, but I just want to give some background on the commission.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So yes, it is a city-run league. They do have their own board that runs and puts the rules and the bylaws, but we provide the balls, we provide we pay for the umpires, we prep the fields, pay for the lights, pay for the scorekeepers, and everything along those lines. So it does fall under a city league.
Okay. So but it's managed, if you will, by this other board, right? That's
Correct.
not the city staff.
Correct.
It's private individuals. And we gave them the option of nets, or they had an alternative, and that the leadership of that league, if you will, chose not to use nets.
Yes. Yeah. We actually we have nets, and that they can use if they chose to. But the board and the leadership of that league chose to give us a certificate of insurance, naming us as additionally insured as their other option.
So that's a little background, just in case the public or the commission wanted it. That's the background of where we're at. If this news comes back to us with some other decision, or if staff change, I support whatever staff decides on this. Oh, sorry, I grabbed the wrong pack. Okay. I didn't know they were labeled. That's Coyotes. So anyway, I just want to give that background, that this wasn't that anyone up here, or we said you cannot use nets.
Right.
It was a choice made by members of the league. Sounds like there's some internal conflict within the league, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's not an agenda item, so we're not going to get into that tonight. It may show up on a future agenda if needed. Item 6 is the consent agenda. I have 21 items, gentlemen. Remember, it would be 20, because item P was removed. We're not going to discuss that. We'll begin at the very end. Commissioner Colodi, anything to pull from the consent agenda?
Yes, for comments 6E and 6N.
E. Oh, and remember, if you just have a brief, like you want to share that, hey, I asked this question, this was the answer with the public before you vote, you can do that now. If you actually want us to debate and discuss and make a separate motion, which are these polling, or do you just want to make a quick comment on these?
Comments.
All right, go ahead.
6E, it's keeping our books in order. We have uncollected accounts that we would like to take off, that our accountant recommends that we take them off. Some of them go back about 7 years, and this will bring our books in order. What I would like to ask for, which I will discuss with the city manager, is I don't like these things to last for so long, and I would like us to set up a procedure where we either make a really good effort to collect this money or take it off the books. It just makes the accounting much neater. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. And
6N. At the last meeting, I asked for an item to be pulled off that was to pay for engineering services to construct on sidewalk on 7th Avenue, about 600 feet of sidewalk. I felt the cost was excessive. It was $43,000. City manager has said he'd go back to the contractor and or to the engineering firm and combine the 600 feet of sidewalk along with 5,500 feet of sidewalk on South Street, all of which were in our plans to do. The total cost is $72,000. So we have a much more reasonable cost, and I recommend it be approved.
Okay.
Cost was just too high for the first time.
Right. Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. So no items pulled. We'll just have those comments. Vice Mayor, do you have any really quick comments, or do you have any things to pull that you want to separate vote on?
I have 6E to pull and 6N, both are just comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Colodi and Khalid, for putting those two studies together. Yes, that one study for 7th Street is a bit on the expensive side. There is some significant engineering there, a few canals. It was described to me quite a few years ago when I asked for the sidewalk. It's for public safety, it's for children's safety. I think it's a well worth expense that we do that. The school and the area are still growing. I don't know what their capacity is, but children walk off of Myrtle onto 7th Street. They use it a lot. So if we could provide the safety for them, finally, it would make them safe and me very happy being their commissioner. And 6N, I just, we do it every year. Sometimes we have to write off debts that we cannot collect. I would have hoped that we had a better mechanism to collect those debts. And I'm afraid that if people come and do further business with us, will we remember that they have a debt with us? Because I don't think you can get certain permits without paying off your liens, debts, taxes. So if we had a better mechanism to do that, we wouldn't have to write off about $80,000. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. I would say we probably have more ways to collect debt than most any other business because we have the power of taxation, liens, a lot of other things. So, the fact this number is actually fairly low for a $70 million organization to have 80,000 in uncollectible ARs. Every other business owner out there would probably love to have that number. So it's fairly reasonable. But yeah, I do agree if we could keep track of it and don't do business with them. A lot of times people's gone out of business anyway. So Commissioner McGurk, any items to pull or comment?
No, Mayor, don't.
Commissioner Hartman.
I have a comment on L.
Go ahead.
I'm certainly glad staff was able to find the money needed for this project. It was one of those unfunded projects that we had in this budget going forward. So I'm thankful that we were able to find that money and get that project taken care of. I'm sure the people who participate at the sports complex will appreciate nice green grass instead of dead grass. So thank you.
Okay.
And Mayor, just for the record, this item was on the unfunded list of projects for the proposed budget year. So.
Nice to get it taken in. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item P, which was pulled? Items A through U, except P. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve except for P.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. City Clerk?
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Consent agenda is approved. Thank you all. Thank you, staff who are here for consent agenda items. Item 7A, presentation by SNME to kick off this work preservation. Brian.
Just a quick intro. SNME is under contract with the city to perform a comprehensive review and update of the city's historic preservation code located in Chapter 50 of the Code of Ordinances. Tonight, Pat Tajewski from SNME will provide an overview of the scope of the project and some of the key issues to be addressed. Pat?
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm going to start the PowerPoint here. Okay. Oh. All right. My name is Pat Tajewski. I'm a planning group leader with SNME at 1615 Edgewater Drive in Orlando. So we have been working with staff on this project, and I'm going to take you through a short PowerPoint to let you know what it is that we're doing. So first we're going to talk about the scope and the team. Then we're going to talk about your historic resources, a brief look at the current standards and the design guidelines, and then we'll tell you what the next steps are going to be. In terms of the scope and the team, so the idea is to look at Chapter 50 and just do an overview of the chapter. And staff has identified certain issues that we need to look at. For example, we have 2 national registered districts. We don't have any local districts, but we understand that there have been some talks about maybe creating some local districts. The regulations of that chapter have been applied to structures within the national district, but there was a recent challenge, and then they started enforcing just the demolition portion. Right now, you have a requirement for a certificate of appropriateness. Most communities have a 2-level system where some of those certificates go through an administrative process, if they are the easy ones, the mild ones, and the others go through the process. So it's something that we want to look into. There have been some confusion between what is a local landmark versus a contributing structure. That's something that we would like to clarify through the process. The existing guidelines have not been adopted, so they have been used, but it's not an official document in the city. And then the city is a certified local government, and whatever we do with the changes to 50, we want to make sure that we're still meeting the requirements for that certification. So the way we're going to do this, we started with a series of kickoff meetings. So we had the staff kickoff, then we met with the Historic Preservation Commission, and the idea was that we were just getting started. We want to listen the concerns of the community so that we can go back to our office and start working on the changes. Now we're having another kickoff meeting, and what we like to do is just hear from you in terms of any issues that you have heard from the community, any improvement that you can see possible, and then we're going to go and draft the ordinance. The way we set up this contract with staff is that we're going to be doing phase 1 that takes us through a draft that we prepare. The public review, revisions, changes will come at a later time in a separate contract. But the time frame is going to be 4 months. So the team with me today is Eddie Browder. He's a landscape architect, but like me, we have an interest in historic preservation. But we have a team of planners and LA landscape architects in our office to help us with the project. So talking about the historic resources in the city. So I mentioned that you have 2 national registered districts. National registered districts are awesome for prestige, basically, property values. But when it comes to regulations, the only reason why somebody would be concerned about a property in a national historic district is if you're going to use federal monies to do anything with that district. Otherwise, they don't have the protection that you would have with the local district. That's in general terms. So we have the Coronado district. There are about 83 contributing structures. And when I say 83 contributing structures, that was determined years ago when those properties were surveyed. As of today, there could be more than that. The other district, and this is a map that shows the contributing structures. The other district is the downtown, the New Smyrna Beach district. There are 313 contributing structures. We also have another level, and it's the local landmarks. Anybody in the city can come in and say, I think my building is significant enough that we should declare it a local landmark. Right now, we have about 14 structures. And typically, they are public buildings. We don't have a lot of private properties that have been designated as landmarks. These are just some of those examples. Now, let's look at the current standards. So we have Chapter 50. It has 3 parts. The first part is the one that we're going to be concentrating on, because that's where we have things like definitions. That's where we take a look at what is a landmark, what is a contributing structure. This is where we have the process for designating a landmark, designating a district. That's where we have the requirements for that certificate of appropriateness. I'm repainting my house. Do I have to go through a certificate of appropriateness? I am changing the windows, but I'm going from wood to vinyl. Would that be approved? Then we also look at maintenance, demolition, and of course, archaeology. The other 2 parts are not going to be revised that much. They have to do with the tax exemption and the grant program. So we're going to focus mostly on that first part. So the design guidelines. We do have design guidelines, but unfortunately, they were prepared back in 1991, and they have not been updated. A lot has happened since that time, especially in the construction world. So we want to extract some of the things that are good from these guidelines and put them into the code, so we don't have a separate document. These are just some of the contents from those guidelines. Talks about historic architectural styles, which is important because, you know, today if we're going to talk about fixing up a Queen Anne house, we want to know what it is supposed to look like before we review that certificate of appropriateness. Standards for all the different parts of a home, whether it's the windows, the awnings, the shutters, all that, we would like to address that in Chapter 50. These are just examples of what you have in that document. And what we want to hear from the community is what has worked and what hasn't. Just a drive through the Flagler area, it's easy to tell that there is a character in that area. The architecture, the historic architecture is unique. As we allow people to change that, what is that district going to look like in the future? Is it going to be still the typical New Smyrna architecture that that the city is known for? So these are just some examples of what happens when you have or don't have historic preservation regulations. You can decide whether the top pictures are the before or the after, but pretty much they show comparisons of what people could do with a historic building. The one on the extreme right, that's Ybor City. We're doing work for them right now. Somebody just put a structure in front of the house. If you don't have regulations, if they meet the setbacks, what's to say that they couldn't do that? The first one and the second picture, over the years, some of these buildings have been modified to the point where they just completely cover the historic elements. Do we want to allow that? No, we don't. So the only way that you can prevent that is by having these standards in your code. And these are just local examples. So, it's like I want to hear from the commissioners, what has worked, what hasn't. Have you seen anything that has come into the downtown or the beach side that you would say, we shouldn't have approved that, that shouldn't have happened? Or something that you would say, look at this building. It's repurposed. It's preserving a little bit of the history of the city. So in terms of the next step, so we are in phase 1 right now, but phase 2 is going to be the review and the adoption. And there is a typo there. The top part should have said phase 1. So we're going to draft the ordinance, and then phase 2 will be the review and the adoption. And all I want to hear now is if you have any comments, suggestions, we're all ears.
All right. I'll open it up to the commission. So I think this is our chance to kind of provide feedback, what's worked and hasn't from our perspective, kind of our concerns. That's what I heard you're kind of looking for from us, right?
Yes.
Okay. Gentlemen, and just so I'm clear, you have already had this same presentation discussion with the HPC?
Yes, we did.
The city's HPC? Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Gentlemen, comments, questions, discussion? Go ahead.
Well, I agree, the house in Ybor City, that was really bad. Don't go any further. Yeah, good person. I think the key is balancing, maintaining the integrity and the look in a historic district without suffocating business development or the property. We want to, in my mind, encourage the property owners to want to be able to designate their property historic. So my goal, from what I understand and with the property owners, is they're scared of it because they're scared of the unknown. They're scared of being told that, make something 2 or 3 times more expensive than it would be otherwise. So as we go down this path, I think the key for me is to have you guys help us establish guidelines that will encourage people to want to include their properties into historic preservation as opposed to forcing them into it.
Okay. Yeah, something we've discussed with the Historic Preservation Commission, it's like there are different levels of historic preservation. If you think of a place like Savannah, for example, you know that they're very strict about how they do historic preservation. St. Augustine, you can only replace a wooden window with a wooden window. Then you have other places. There's a couple of cities that we do work for in Brevard County, where if you're going to replace the window with a similar size window, similar type of window, the material is not that important at that point. So it's something that, you know, it can be written either way. It depends on the community, how the community wants to do it, because at that point it's a policy decision.
So just for clarity, and we'll come to the commission, but nobody jump like they normally do, so I'll lead off and then we'll go to some more. With the work we're doing in for this particular section, this particular ordinance, with what we have in place right now, will it be able to be applied, or are there these additional steps we have to kind of get the homeowners to buy into that at that point? Or help us understand kind of the broader picture and that's process. And does it have to be at the kind of region or zone level, like the maps you showed, or is it individual homeowners, or do we have to get 50% of those? And what have you seen in other communities as far as from where we're at to where we want to go? Because I think there's broad agreement, maybe not on the finer points, but we all value historic preservation. I mean, you're sitting in an example of historic preservation and how much we value it. So there's no disagreement there, but I just want to make sure we know the path forward and we're all on the same page of that.
Like I mentioned, it's not the same everywhere. There are different degrees of protection.
Right.
You have an ordinance already in place that at first look, it seems like you would be regulating not just the landmarks, but also the contributing buildings, also the other buildings within the district, and new construction. And that's something that we're going to discuss, we're going to talk about, and it's like, do we really want to take a property that is not contributing, it's not historic, do we want to take them through the process? If they're going to change the windows, do we have to take them to a public hearing process? So that's something that there will be discussion, and, you know, is that how we want to keep it? The one thing that we heard from the Historic Preservation Commission is we don't want to water down the regulations. They have something that they have been using. So for us, the most important part is how have they been used so far, and what has worked, what hasn't. So the idea is not to, you know, just get rid of what you have right now. It's just to make it better, easier for staff to implement. Mm-hmm. And easier for the Historic Preservation Commission to look at an application for a certificate of appropriateness and know what to do. Not to say, I like that window, or I don't like that door. But it's not, the criteria says that if it is a frame vernacular, these are the types of doors that you should be selecting.
Yeah.
So we always look at other examples. So we will have a matrix that says, you know, how different communities do it. And, you know, number one, if it is the creation of a historic district, that varies too. Some communities say, as long as we have the majority, meaning 51%, it's good, we can create the district. Your code talks about a supermajority. So we'll give you examples so we can decide at that point, you know, is that something that we want to change, or we want to keep it that way?
Okay. And what about one issue we've had before us in you know, past 2 years at least, is kind of this demolition by neglect. So all of a sudden we now have maybe even a contributing structure, definitely a historic structure, where, you know, it really could, you know, had to be torn down because it was not cost effective or feasible to rebuild. To me, I mean, you hate to see that, and so I'd hope we could have protections, but I don't know how you can necessarily regulate that. But what I saw some examples of is to say, in that case, is the rebuild then controlled? And so it has to still, in your example of the extreme, you don't rebuild something that looked like the vernacular of the rest of the neighborhood, and then all of a sudden you're building an ultra-modern square box with, you know, these ultra-modern features where you just demoed another building. What have you seen in places like Savannah? I'd imagine there's no way I could buy a building, demo it by neglect, 2 years later I'd demo it, and then, you know, and then rebuild some ultra-modern in downtown Savannah off of one of their parks. This is not going to happen. So how do they control?
So the
it's a different
first
state, I know, too. But
yeah, so the first thing is the neglect part. So the code can say so much about, you know, keeping your building, but there has to be a code enforcement activity at the same time. There are some communities that keep a list of properties that could be in danger of getting to that point, and they do visits more regularly. So, you know, you would have to focus on those properties to make sure that they keep it up. If it gets to the point where nobody can salvage it, it's really expensive to do anything with the property, you cannot prevent demolition. It has to be approved. There are some items that you can put in the code, like, for example, the city of Melbourne, they have the Green Gables house. It was designated in the National Register and all that, and somebody came and he said, it's going to be too expensive to fix up this house. We're going to have to demolish it. And typically what we put in these ordinances is a wait period. You have to wait, let's say it's 90 days, 6 months, whatever you want to put in there. The idea is that during that period, let's hope that somebody's going to come up with the money to fix that house or buy it or doing something. And it happened. They created an organization that is trying to save the house. So, so the house comes down. So what happens? So when you have regulations that say if you're in a historic district, anything that comes new has to go through the process. What you do there is create standards that we don't want to replicate historic buildings. That's not the idea, and that's something that is in the National Secretary of Interior standards. What you want to do is make sure you respect the scale, the rhythm of the building, the window pattern. You write standards so they don't look like they're old buildings, because we don't want to trick people, but at least they look similar to the historic flavor of the community.
Gotcha. Okay. And so those are things that you think we can write into this ordinance as we tweak this, that will give the HPC and the commission those kind of guidance. So then would that be applicable to basically every new structure in that whole, because that's what I thought I heard some discussion. We don't necessarily want every new structure, but so how does that work? Is that every new structure in that whole district, every new?
So that's something that we would like to get input on.
Okay.
Let's say we have the Coronado district. If somebody demolishes a building right on Flagler Avenue, of course you want to review that building because it's right in the strip. It's going to be right next to other historic buildings. So we want to review the new construction in a historic district. Let's say that there's a house behind it and they want to, I don't know, put an addition. Do we want to review that house? Well, it will impact whatever happens in the district. So do we want to do that? So right now it's written in your code, but it's not being enforced.
Gotcha.
So the decision is, if we're going to keep it, then we need to enforce it.
Yeah. Because what I've heard is, even in some of those, the historic districts, you end up with, maybe it is a vacant lot, there aren't a lot of those left, but maybe it's a vacant lot that's built, and those are built, and they just don't look, they're not in the same, again, the vernacular of the neighborhood, they're not the same style, to scale to some, all of a sudden you got, every other home is a one-story kind of, cracker box house, and then you get the three-story monstrosity that's breaking the tree line. And we've got some restrictions, but those are the kind of things that, I don't know that I have all the answers sitting here, but those are the kind of things we're trying to do without limiting progress. And I gave the example when we did this. Like, this is progress. We took an old building, we repurposed it. It wasn't just going to be torn down. It's now something that's usable. We respected its heritage, but also made progress as we did so. And it doesn't look exactly like it did inside or out when we took it over. So I think there's a path forward there. That's what my goal is, and I'm not the expert on it. Hopefully you all are, and you can help us. We're not Savannah. I mean, we have our own thing, and so, but I don't think we're to that extreme, and I agree with you. If someone wants to upgrade a wood window to a hurricane-rated vinyl impact window, I'm going to encourage that. But you can do that and still look like it. I built a house 5 years ago in New Smyrna. I get told all the time as people walk up my front door, they ask me, how do you feel about all these houses that were built around you? Or, we love what you did restoring this historic house. And my house is the newest one on the block. But I designed it very intentionally to look old, not necessarily tricking, but just there's a book called This Old, or no, I forget what it's called. There's literally design elements you can do as you build a house to make it feel old, that kind of make someone instinctively think of this as an old house. And a lot of it's just the styling and the architecture. So anyway, I've said a lot. Any other comments on this item as we progress?
Explain to me the difference between a national and a local historic district.
Okay, so whenever you have a national historic district without any regulations, it's just prestige. I mean, it's just that you're part of something cool. But unless you're going to use federal money to do something to the building, nobody's going to say anything to you. If you have a place like New Smyrna where you have a code that says if you're in a historic district, whether it's local and national, here are some standards for you, then there is a little bit of protection. That's the main difference between the two when it comes to regulating what happens in the district.
So we don't have a local district at this time?
No.
Do we want to have a local district?
That's up to the community. When you have a local district, and this is an experience that we had in the past, it's not easy to create one unless most of the neighbors are in agreement. Because when you go through the process, like you were saying before, like some people are a little bit afraid of, if we create a district, we're going to have more regulations. But other people feel like by having a district, there will be recognition that it's going to improve property values. People are going to start taking better care of their homes. And eventually, it's going to be a cohesive district preserved that way for years to come.
With our national district that we have now and the standards that we do have, are they enforceable right now?
Yeah, we haven't gone through the detailed analysis of it. We just, read it to know, what we're getting into. Because at this point, we're just getting input. We have this is a, kickoff meeting. We're just getting started.
So you don't
yeah, we
know
have not read the whole.
You don't
the
know
details.
if we can enforce the standards that we have.
Yeah, basically what I read that, caught my attention was you're regulating contributing landmarks, existing that are not contributing, and new construction all in the same way without having standards.
So,
without having a way to say, oh, we're going to build a new house, but how do you review that new house based on what?
So are there any infill standards in there now?
Not for historic preservation. They're in the booklet that is from 1991.
Okay, just a booklet.
For historic preservation.
You had mentioned before to have a local district, you have to have a certain percentage of people that want to be in a local district. Mm-hmm. Who establishes that number, the percentage?
Talking to the people.
Pat, let me answer that as far as a local historic district. So we have 2/3 in our code now. You have to have 2/3 support of the group that's in the district. So we have been actively pursuing, it's not part of Pat's scope, so it's probably not fair to ask her. We have been pursuing establishing local historic districts that mirror our 2 national districts. We've sent 2 letters out. We have a 3rd coming out soon. So far, we have not seen the type of support that would get us to that 2/3 threshold. We're not sure if a lot of people are non-responsive, so we're not sure if they're just not interested or just haven't responded yet. But most of that code cannot be enforced the way it's written without the establishment of local historic districts.
So we, at some point in our past, established the standard that 67% of the people have to go in.
Yes.
In a new ordinance, can we change that?
We can.
Let's see how many people respond.
Yes, that's a very high standard. And just having the national district, I'm just afraid that if somebody pushes us on it, that they can almost do what they want because we have no real enforcement powers. Is that correct?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I think
go ahead.
The real question is, can you require somebody in a national district to get a certificate of appropriateness when they're not in a local district?
You can, because the code says whoever is within the national district is subject to these standards. That's how Ybor City does it too. They have 2 national historic districts, and they're saying if you're within that district, you're subject to these historic standards.
Well,
I have a legal difference of opinion on that answer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This is something I would really like to get ironed out before we talk about changing things.
Sure.
Maybe we have to change that percentage of people. Maybe we don't need a local district. But right now, it's all up in the air. I don't have a clue as to what the right way to go is.
And
I know what a lot of our residents say, but I don't want to say I don't trust them in their opinions, but I really would like to iron those basic facts out before
and we'll
we go
get some
too much
examples
farther.
from Florida to see how they regulate in different places, the districts.
Others, yes.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Would SNME assist us in gathering information from neighborhoods to see whether they would want to become a historic neighborhood?
Not part of this scope. That's something that staff is doing on their own. We're handling the rewriting of the code. Now, we will have a public input portion in phase 2, but it will not be asking people, do you want to be part of a historic district?
I personally have only spoken to a few residents regarding that. There's been some interest, but I don't want to unduly influence the neighborhood. My own feeling is on the barrier island, on the beach side, you have the smaller periwinkle homes, which are historic. A lot of people would like to keep them that way, and then others come in and occasionally will build a McMansion.
Yeah.
And they're non-compliant, they're kind of invasive, and they're not congruous with the rest of the neighborhood, not compatible.
Yeah.
So would having the district keep that from happening?
So when you establish the design standards, if they apply to a district, then whenever somebody makes a change to a home or to a lot, they would have to go through a process and make sure that they meet the standards.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments?
Not at this point.
Commissioner Hartman?
No.
Okay, I think we've got obviously a long path ahead of us. Hopefully this was some helpful feedback.
Sure.
I think the key takeaway for me is, as Commissioner Colodi said, there's truly is some, I don't know that we found our footing with exactly kind of where we are and where we can go, and obviously the city attorney's given some guidance, and so I think that's a really important first step. So interesting to hear your perspective on that, and maybe Carrie and you can talk and see if you can iron out, and if we have some examples of other cities. And so, yeah, I think that's a foundation we've got to find, and then we can build from there once we've got that. But I think once we get that, I think there'll be some, I like what I've seen here, and I think we've got some good things to build from. So,
All right, perfect. Thank you.
thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Pat. All right, next item up is an annual report. So, gentlemen, the next two items, if you recall, we had annual reports from a couple of our advisory committees. And this is something that I was pretty passionate about. And then we had changed that at one of our last meetings, and we moved it later in the meeting. So mea culpa, and my apologies to these two boards that are about to present. The commission rightfully kind of called out that they didn't like that, so we made an adjustment. We feel like this is the right time in the agenda. So this is our chance to hear from those boards. They're advisory boards, so we want to hear what they've been up to. We want advice. And so this is their chance to report out kind of what they've been working on, what their goals are, other things. We will take just a few moments as they do that and then ask some questions if we have any, and then we'll go from there. So first up, we have the CDBG board, and the chair is Ms. Mildred White. I did see her back there. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mildred White, and I've been a resident of New Smyrna since 1965.
So you're a newbie.
I think she said we had sent the report.
We've got it up here. Yes, ma'am.
Now,
we've got it in front of us, too.
I need to make some comments on the report.
Okay.
On the page where you have current activities, because at the time, we did not know who had been awarded, but now we know Top Line Recreation has been awarded the contract.
Yep.
To install the shade system at Dave James to the tune of, I believe, I think it's about $119,000, somewhere in there. And they're supposed to have it completed by the end of the calendar year. And the other thing is, in case you're wondering what's happening, I'm not a lover of air conditioning. So the longer I stay in air conditioning, the more I lose my voice.
I see.
We had the home delivery service of meals. It started in April, and it ends tomorrow. And the other thing I believe is the upcoming events. We didn't have that. it has been submitted, an application has been submitted to the county to install artificial turf at Babe James Playground area, but we're waiting for it to be awarded.
Okay.
Those are the only two things that was not on this report when you received it. So now my question to you is, do you have any questions? You got the report.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm a former school teacher. I hate it when we have these meetings where you go over what you already sent me and I already read it. So I do not want to waste anybody's time going over something that you were supposed to read. Now, if you were not a good student, then you got a question that you got to ask.
Okay.
She's after my own heart.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I read the report, and I see on the Meals on Wheels program, but it doesn't tell me how well it was received by the community. Do you think the program should be expanded? Do you think it should be continued? That's what I would like to know.
Well, I really don't have that information, but a lot of people at first was reluctant about that because they thought there was a catch to it. But then when they got to the point where they could have input as to what was delivered to them, see, at first they just sent you a box, food with care. But then they had a little something in that first box which allowed you to select the 16 meals that you would like to receive. So then I think the program was great.
Good.
But I just know it ends tomorrow.
Okay. No, when I lived elsewhere, my wife used to deliver Meals on Wheels, and the people who received it really appreciated it.
Okay, and this is more or less not the Meals on Wheels. This is like a home, it's similar to that.
Right.
But it's a home delivery service in that twice a month they bring this box.
Right.
They are frozen containers, and if you live by yourself, it's one comment I did receive that it was just enough not to have food that you had to waste. Because it is a meal in a little packet, and all you have to do is take the little film off on the corner and put it in the microwave.
Okay. When you get to your upcoming events, you're working on projects, maybe you'd want to consider extending that program. If it's worked out good and people really make use of it, it sounds like a good program.
Well, like I said, this was something that came from the county, and we jumped on board and we signed people up. But I don't know whether we'd have to be funded by the city or how it would go after this, but I can look into that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. White?
Yes.
Go ahead, Vice.
I'll be quick. Mrs. White, the Meals on Wheels is discontinuing. Why?
It was not Meals on Wheels. It was a home food delivery service. And when they initiated, and where's my facilitator? She's back there. When she came to the community about it, they said, we're looking for some people who are willing to receive these meals for 6 months. And it started in April, and the 6 months is up tomorrow. So I don't know, that was just from the beginning.
Yeah.
So this wasn't whether, if you like it, we'll extend it. It wasn't like that. It was just, okay, let's try this. We're willing to try this for 6 months. But I would look into with food with care and see what is going to happen. And then I will report back to somebody, I'll report back to where he is, my commissioner there.
All right.
Mr. Hart.
Commissioner McGurk.
Ms. White, I just wanted to thank you for coming here tonight, but more importantly, being part of this community for so long and all the time you've put into this board and committee. I've seen you around for many years, and I deeply appreciate your contribution to this community and coming here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think Commissioner McGurk speaks for all of us. We thank you for your service on not only this board, but as he said, throughout the community. She's at every event I look up almost. I see Ms. White. So good to see you tonight. Thank you for that. Let us know. We're here if you need anything.
Quick question.
Sure.
If this program is needed and county funds it, can we advocate for them?
So I think
Is that needed?
Irma may be prepared to answer that right now. If not, she can come back to us with some more info, but we'll see what she knows off the top of her head.
Thank you, Ms. White. Good evening. I just wanted to add to what Ms. White said about the home delivery service. So these were CDBG coronavirus funds. So it was available to us for a 6-month period. So that's the reason that it's ending this month. So as of right now, we have not heard that the program will be extended. We hope that it will be, but at this time, we do not know.
We could possibly use non-corona other CDBG funds in a similar way in future years if it was a priority of that commission, or no?
Yes.
We could, okay. Yeah, so I think it's a worthwhile discussion for that board to have as what the cost was and whether or not that would be something we'd want to allocate some funding for in future years out of CDBG money. But I know there's always more projects than money usually, so yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Ms. White. And next we have the Historic Preservation Board. Yes, ma'am, come ahead. And again, the same apology. I know you were here. I know you were here at the last meeting as well, so thank you for coming back.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Good evening. It's kind of odd that we are here at the same time as you just heard a big presentation about our rewrite of Chapter 50, so we'll just get it all in tonight.
Yeah.
Our commission members are Leanne Bennett, Dr. Angeline Beretta Herman, Terry Bledsoe, Suzanne Ladd, Christy Abramovic, and Carl Hodges. Some of our objective and goals are going to sound like some of the things you just heard in our history from our consultants. New Smyrna has a very rich history and is a significant part of Florida's historical past. The Historical New Smyrna Beach Preservation Commission, or HPC, was established by Ordinance 1386 in April 1986. The city is also a certified local government approved by the National Park Service, Department of the Interior, and the city received this certification in 1986. The Historic Preservation Commission has specific municipal purposes. Among these are continuing the survey and inspection of historic buildings and archaeological sites with their preservation in mind, and recommending the designation of historic districts and landmarks. A vital purpose of the HPC is to regulate the alteration, relocation, and demolition of historic properties. The HPC coordinates with the city by working with city departments. One final and important function is the education of citizens and property owners and other groups interested in historic preservation. We, the Historic Preservation, City Commission, and concerned citizens face numerous challenges in the future in our commitment to strengthen historic preservation. As continued new development occurs, we must harden our resolve for reuse, relocation, and repurposing of historic structures rather than the approved demolition to new development. So I think I'm preaching to the choir here as we sit in the gold standard of historic preservation and reuse, and it's just wonderful. We must educate citizens and business owners that historic preservation strengthens the economy. New Smyrna Beach has been successful in promoting the area as a tourist party destination, but we can also become a cultural destination. These will not be easy commitments, but they are necessary to preserve what remains of our history. They can be accomplished with shared commitment of the Historic Preservation Commission, the City Commission, as well as valued partnerships with the Southeast Volusia Historical Society, New Smyrna Museum of History, and the Black Heritage Museum. The City of New Smyrna has 2 National Registered Historic Districts. The New Smyrna Beach Historic District, or the Mainland District, listed in 1990, and the Coronado Historic District listed in 1997. The city also has listed the Turnbull Canal System on the National Register in August 2007. The HPC is currently working to also establish these 2 national registered historic districts to be designated as local historic districts or landmark districts, which you just heard. Many historic and archaeological elements in these 2 districts have already been lost. As stated in the city's comprehensive plan, we cannot allow our historic treasures to become another endangered species. Recently, the Historic Preservation Commission nominated the New Smyrna Beach, that should be golf course, as a local landmark, and the City Commission approved the designation on October 27, 2020 by Ordinance 105-20. Also in 2020, the HPC reviewed and updated the city's comprehensive plan, Chapter 13, Historical and Archaeological Preservation Element, and gave a recommendation to the City Commission to approve the update. The City Commission approved the updated Chapter 13 on August 11, 2020 by ordinance number 2020. The HPC also required and reviewed multiple archaeological reports, including 114 Florida Avenue, 215 South Orange, 309 Downing, the City Hall Annex, the DOT project on Canal and North Dixie Freeway, the Babe James Splash Park, and the Smith Street generator site. The HPC meets on the second Wednesday of each month at 5:30. The meeting is open to the public. Excuse me. Oops, one last page. The HPC selects the Donna Dean Miller Historic Preservation Award annually for a commercial and a residential property. The award is presented to the property owner by the City Commission. The cost of each of these plaques is approximately $250. We invite each of you to attend the HPC meeting, and we want to thank Commissioner Colodi, who has attended one of our meetings. That was back in the spring. And of course, we want to express our gratitude to Bob Mathan for his tireless work for historic preservation, Stephanie for her support, and to Brian Fields for his support and advice. But really, the HPC could not function so well without the citizen volunteers who give of their time and expertise and always make thoughtful and educated decisions about the cases we hear. Thank you. Questions?
All right. Questions or comments on HPC?
Or comments?
Was that?
Okay. Yes.
So you all have heard these presentations that we heard earlier today, and
we have
provided comments and feedback. I guess let me ask you this way: Did you hear, since we just so happened that you were here at the same time, did you hear any broad divergence from the direction that what you've heard out of HPC and what you heard out of the commission based on that presentation? Do you feel like we're in, obviously we didn't get to finer points, but broad alignment on the direction we're heading and the two committees are pulling in the same direction?
I feel like we are. I think, as Commissioner McCork stated, historic preservation is important, but we also need to make sure that our business owners, our property owners understand it and are comfortable with it, because we don't want to turn anybody off with this. We, the Commission, the HPC, did feel there needed to be some revision and updating of Chapter 50. That was back when then Assistant City Attorney Chris was here, but that didn't happen in that time period, so the consultants are going to be able to help us to do a broader rewrite and maybe some broader understanding. We had questions, and we received the PowerPoint presentation in a printout, so I didn't see any major divergence with what you were asking. We are, of course, as they mentioned, in the very early stages of this project, and I think there will be ample opportunity for all of us, the HPC, the commissioners, and hopefully the citizens, to express their concerns and have questions answered.
Okay. Well said.
Thank
Any
you.
other
Thank you.
comments? So, yeah, thank you. Thank you specifically, and then thank your entire committee for the tireless work and the commitment to historic preservation, and often a thankless position in many ways. But we thank you, and I think a lot of the community really, they don't even, maybe some people know that it happens, but they certainly would know if it wasn't happening.
If it wasn't happening, that's why we do encourage everyone to come to the meeting and become a part of it.
All right. Thank you all. Thanks for your report tonight. Okay, next items, we have items 8A, B, and C is all related to an annexation of 0.22 acres on 200 Howard Avenue. City Attorney is going to read all of those a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 3621, an ordinance annexing into the city of New Smyrna Beach 0.22 plus or minus acres of property located on the northwest corner of Howard Avenue and Julia Street, addressed as 200 Howard Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 3721, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .22 plus or minus acres of land located on the northwest corner of Howard Avenue and Julia Street, addressed as 200 Howard Avenue, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 3821, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .22 plus or minus acres of property located on the northwest corner of Howard Avenue and Julia Street, addressed as 200 Howard Avenue, from Volusia County R4A Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay to City R2A Single Family Residential Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
All right, so second reading in quasi judicial. We'll first hear from the city. Bob, if you would give your, let's see, it's out of order, sorry. We don't have to do the certification for expert witness thing, or?
Not anymore.
Okay. All right. Are you familiar with the ordinances 36, the ones I just read?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. Can you state whether it's consistent with the comp plan and share your recommendations on the property?
The applications are consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff recommend the City Commission to approve the requested annexation, the rezoning to R2, and amending the future land use map to the medium density residential as part of an overall voluntary annexation application.
Okay. Any member of the commission or the applicant? We'll start with the commission if they have any wish to question Mr. Mathon on his testimony. Hearing none. Okay, applicant, I'm assuming, doesn't have any questions either. We'll now hear from the applicant if they would like to present. I don't see an applicant, I don't believe, so we'll assume they do not. We'll now hear from the public. Does anyone that is not the applicant wish to comment on this item, this specific item? Seeing none, we will close all of that. I assume no closing remarks because nothing else has been said. And so do I have a motion to consider ordinance 3621?
Motion to approve ordinance number 3621.
City Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
3621 is adopted. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 3721?
Motion to approve ordinance number 3721.
City Clerk?
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
And do I have a motion on 3821?
Motion to approve ordinance number 3821.
Second.
Messed up the rhythm. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we had a motion and a second. City Clerk?
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Yes.
Mayor, if I may make a comment. I'd like to thank the Habitat for Humanity for working with us on this, and along with staff. I know there were some questions involved in this. This was one of those things that I kind of worked on in the initial part, so really appreciate all that staff did, and especially Habitat for working with us.
Okay, agreed. All right, Carrie, you're up. Item 38D, E, and F.
Ordinance number 3921, an ordinance annexing into the City of New Smyrna Beach 2.66 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Pioneer Trail, east of Sugar Mill Drive, addressed as 2659 Pioneer Trail, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 3, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4021. An ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 2.66 plus or minus acres of land located on the north side of Pioneer Trail, east of Sugar Mill Drive, addressed as 2659 Pioneer Trail, from Volusia County urban low intensity to city low density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4121, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 2.66 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Pioneer Trail, east of Sugar Mill Drive, addressed as 2659 Pioneer Trail, from Volusia County A3A Transitional Agricultural Airport Overlay to City A3A, Transitional Agriculture Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Was that all three? I lost count. All right. Bob, would you state whether this request is consistent with the comp plan and share your recommendation on this property?
Yes, so all three applications do meet the city's comprehensive plan. Staff recommends the city commission approve the requested annexation, the rezoning to A3, and amending the future land use to low density residential as part of an overall volunteer annexation application.
Any questions on that by the applicant or the commission? Hearing none, would any member of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we will now consider the item. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 39-21?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Kelly?
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
3921 is adopted. Do I have a motion to adopt 4021?
Motion to adopt 4021.
Thank you.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
And do I have a motion to adopt 4121?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion, we'll take the second by McGurk. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, those have all been adopted. Next item up, 8G, is the second reading of public hearing, which would amend the police pension benefits. City Attorney will read this ordinance a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 4221, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach and amending the City of New Smyrna Beach Police Officers Retirement Plan, amending Section 4.07 Supplemental Benefit, Chapter 185 Share Accounts to comply with Chapter 185 default provisions, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, you have a report?
Nothing further.
Okay. This is public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have any questions, comments from the commission? If not, do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 4221?
Second.
City Clerk, call the roll.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
That item is approved. Item 4321, the city attorney will read this a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 4321, an ordinance amending the City of New Smyrna Beach Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 70 Streets and Sidewalks and Other Public Places to add a new Section 70-162.1 Camping Limitations to generally prohibit camping on public property, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Gentlemen, we've discussed this item before, so we'll go to the public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, do I have any discussion, questions by the commission? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt 4321?
Move to approve.
Second.
I had a motion, a second by the vice mayor. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
And for the public's benefit, you know, on some of these items, you may, if this is your first time here or you haven't followed these, you may say, oh, they're just going through the motions. They just rubber stamp everything. We've spent hours talking about this. They started as an idea, then they go to a workshop, and by the time we get to this step, we've discussed, we've debated. So anyway, I just don't want anybody to think we literally don't even care. We just, this is the last step of a long process. So. All right, item 9A. Okay, so these are all first readings. We have A, B, all the way through E. So, City Attorney, if you will just go through those, please.
Ordinance number 3521, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach authorizing the Utilities Commission, City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, to use a standard developers agreement for a term exceeding 4 years, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4421, an ordinance annexing into the City of New Smyrna Beach 0.24 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of Oliver Drive between Patricia Drive and Hazel Bishop Drive, addressed as 412 Oliver Drive, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4522, 21, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .24 plus or minus acres of land located on the west side of Oliver Drive between Patricia Avenue and Hazel Bishop Drive, addressed as 412 Oliver Drive, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for a public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4621, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .24 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of Oliver Drive between Patricia Drive and Hazel Bishop Drive, addressed as 412 Oliver Drive, from Volusia County R4A urban single-family residential airport overlay to city R2A single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4721, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach authorizing the Utilities Commission, City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, to enter into the exclusive road easement agreement with the County of Volusia for the Williamson Boulevard extension for a term exceeding 4 years, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. And all of these first reading ordinances have the public hearing set for September 28, 2021. And I believe we may have comments on this one. Commissioner Colodi. Williamson.
I do have a comment.
Go ahead.
Ordinance 4721 is a very, it's a very broad-reaching item that we haven't discussed in quite a long while. It has to do with the property that the UC owns, or that we own with the UC, on the west side of Route I-95. And what it is will establish a right-of-way to extend Williamson Boulevard south from where it ends now to State Route 44. I have no problem with accepting the fact that the road should be extended to Route 44. It'll provide an integral county-wide link. I do, however, have a big concern. This property, when originally purchased, was to be used for preservation of water supplies and recharge and that type of item. And now we have something like 20 acres of it that's going to be an easement granted to the county. I don't have a problem with granting of the easement. I do have a problem that we are going to have many acres of wetlands that are going to go away. Physically, they're going to be paved over. It's not the best thing. There are very positive things that go with it. However, I am of the position that this land should be replaced as wetlands within the limits of New Smyrna Beach. I do not wish mitigation credits to be granted or issued that would allow somebody to pay money to obtain preservation at the Farmington Mitigation Bank, not in New Smyrna Beach. What good will that do us? It's good for the county in general, but we really need to have this land in its state within New Smyrna Beach's limits. It's going to be paved over, but I want it replaced in town. I want whoever the driving force behind this project is to purchase other lands in lieu of a mitigation purchase elsewhere. We have plenty of wetland properties in this town that we could buy and we could protect and we could reap the benefits of it, as opposed to somebody reaching a monetary reward. I believe it to be Miami Corporation out of Chicago. So I want us to make sure we have those rights. I know there's going to be development plans. I know there's going to be water management district approvals necessary. But that doesn't guarantee that we are going to reap those benefits of it, other than the additional traffic. So I would like to have a presentation at our second hearing as to how we can preserve those rights. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I don't know, Carrie, do you know off the top of your head? Or do you need
Well,
some
to
time
me, these are separate but related items. So before you is the ordinance.
Right.
I believe there may be someone in the audience who could speak to the separate but related item, and perhaps it would be a different, distinct presentation.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but I'm just saying, so basically what I think I hear you saying is it wouldn't necessarily be part of this ordinance, but obviously this is our leverage in some ways if I follow the line of reasoning here. So if there was the desire of the commission, so far we just heard from one, but if that was the desire of the commission, it would be like a separate but related agreement. But I guess what I'm saying is is there footing to do that, or do you need some more time to kind of think about and research that? Or
I really believe these are distinct issues, and
Okay.
I know that the UC has been very open to working with us on a lot of issues, and I
Okay.
believe the developers representative. Also, I know this agreement has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
So, I don't see this ordinance as leverage. I think it needs to be an open discussion between the parties about how it is going to be mitigated. Perhaps he can answer that now, I'm not sure.
Yeah, are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the camel sticking his nose under the tent. I want to make sure we have the ability to control the wetlands aspect of it.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a road. It's coming. It's been coming for a decade, probably.
Longer.
But this land was bought for a purpose. And if that purpose can be met by other wetlands within our town, elsewhere, fine. I can understand
It's an
that.
interesting concept.
But I want to see it. I want to have some type of, I know I can't get a guarantee. I don't object to the granting of this easement. I don't object to moving ahead. But I want to hear some type of statement saying that we're going to make that a policy decision. There's other things that are going to go out on that track. The UC has presented us plans where they show that they're going to put other buildings out there. How is that going to fit in? More wetlands are going to go away. Maybe part of the development plan should include them recreating wetlands out of uplands on that tract. There's any number of ways that can be done, but I want to hear them and I want to see them.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
comment, please.
Sure.
I wholly concur with Commissioner Coloddi's remarks. It's been a long time that I've been very concerned about this water retention area. We did have a joint meeting with the UC, and it was almost plainly stated that they had a wish to sell it off someday, not only create the Williamson Boulevard extension, but to actually develop it. I'm very concerned for our water quality, water consumption, how much we will have left if we develop. If we can actually mitigate it by purchasing maybe a better piece somewhere else that will retain water, we're going to be fighting over water. I understand anecdotally that DeLand is now looking for water wells east of their city limits. So we're all going to be squabbling over water, what's left of it. I join Commissioner Coloddi in those very deep concerns.
Okay. I just want to be clear on something I heard. From what my recollection of that meeting and subsequent conversations that I've been in with the UC, they have plans for the property. Therefore, I don't know that the only thing I've heard them even float of possibly selling would be, immediate State Road 44 frontage that may have commercial value. Maybe, and again, I haven't even heard this as a definite. It's just been here's an idea as a business idea, is that has a much higher value. So could you sell some of that, just a strip along the front, to be used to pay for some of the infrastructure needs, new facilities, equipment, et cetera, that they have towards the rear. But as far as this notion of selling off all 800 acres or some large swaths of that, I've heard no such thing. And in fact, I've heard they have grand plans for using and or preserving the vast majority of that. So I just want to make sure I want to make sure we're if that's the case, then I'd like to hear that straight from them, because that's not what I've heard from them. So if that's changed, then I'd like to know that, but that's not what I heard at that meeting, and certainly not what I've heard in follow-up conversations that I've had, but I may be wrong. But so
What you heard is correct.
yeah, I mean, and again, and even that little strip they've talked about right along 44 that has that commercial value, that's not definite. I've heard that tossed around, and there is, from a pure dollars and cents, that may, if this were the Saks Owen business, that has some valid commercial use. Therefore, hey, can I use this money to pay for other things that we need infrastructure-wise? But that's none of that is set in stone. But certainly, selling off a lot of it, I don't think is in the cards at all. Because right now they're actively making plans to move large swaths of their operation base out to that area. That's what Commissioner Clody referenced, I believe. So,
Well,
Commissioner McGirt, I'll come back to you.
yeah, and again, I don't want to put words in Commissioner Cody's mouth, but I believe he started off his statement by saying that the reason the property was purchased was for environmental preservation. That's not accurate. The reason the property was purchased was because they were going to move some operations out there. There has been discussions over the past 10 years or so on all kinds of different ideas, including what at one point early on was going to be a massive solar farm. The one thing I agree with is one doesn't necessarily have to do with the other. And I agree with Commissioner Clody. This road needs to go in for a lot of different reasons. In fact, this was the road that's going to be an arterial road moving north and south, which we don't have other than US 1 and 95. And for 14 years on the TPO, whether I was on as a citizen or chairing it as an elected, this is one of the most key roads through the key road through Southeast Volusia. So it does need to be built, and the great news is we have created an alignment. This thing was all over the place, where you're going to get on coming south to Pioneer Trail, then you're going to travel west on Pioneer Trail to the end of the property line, then you're going to go through the property, then you're going to head back east on State Road 44 to pick it up somewhere near Benames. I don't want one confusing the other. There's a lot of debate on what should be done with the property, what can be done with the property. The UC's intention when they bought it was to move operations there. And actually, believe it or not, there was a lot of debate over whether or not who owns the property once the UC was done using their portion. But we're past that. I don't want to dig that up. But the reason I bring that up is because there has been so much discussion on this piece of property and so many misconceptions and rumors floated out there that, wow, I get what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying and why you're saying it, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I certainly don't want this road, after over a decade of trying to get it to where we are today, to somehow get lost in the shuffle. So I said my piece, and thank you.
Commissioner Clody.
Yeah, perhaps I mischaracterized the purchase of the land, because putting the sewer plant out there, the water treatment plant and the sewage disposal facility out there was a proper environmental thing to do. It used to sit right on the intercoastal, so that's why it's gone. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with them building the road. I look forward to the road being done. I just don't want the unintended consequence be to the loss of wetlands. If you take a look at the exhibit that they prepared and sent to us, it's Exhibit C, page 23 of 26. It says wetlands impact, and I don't want that to be construed in any way to say that we're acknowledging that there's going to be negative impacts. Yes, there's going to be impacts. But like I said, I don't want this to get started off on the wrong foot.
Okay. I'm intrigued by the concept. I think I agree with most of what's been said. I don't know that we could if we wanted to, but certainly don't want to necessarily delay this. But I've long been a proponent. I've even explored, could we be our own mitigation bank and require things to be purchased? Could we buy up some land and then sell those wetland credits to other communities or within our own community? So I love the concept. I would be open to hearing from our attorney and the applicant even how we can best make that happen. So I think you've got at least 3 of us that would like to explore it further. So it's probably worth just a little time. I don't know if you want to take a few minutes and speak to it now, or I know we're catching you flat-footed. So do you want to try to wing it now or come back to us at the next meeting?
I want to do both.
Just you can't have a ton of time at both.
No.
You get one shot.
Before you get started, we do own 2 mitigation credits right now that came with Turnbull Creek. So yes, we've got a framework that we just have to establish on.
Okay.
First of all, I need to understand, I'm not the applicant. I'm not even a party to this. This is between the county and the city. The UC and the county. Right. As far as this is concerned. I represent the owners of the land to the south, and I represent the owners to the adjoining property to the north. The owners to the north, if you recall, were required by the city to dedicate right-of-way for this road. Right. So that's sort of an interest we have in this. The owners to the south are required to, at some point, work with the county to establish the alignment for that to go all the way down to 442. Because this is a county thoroughfare in the county thoroughfare plan. The county could, in fact, condemn this land and condemn this right-of-way if they chose to. So getting this deal done between the UC and the county, working out the deal as to where this was going to go, was not an easy thing to do. And I will tell you that since all I helped do was facilitate it, and I will tell you some of the things that they did was they tried to do this in such a way where they preserved wetlands so that they could preserve wetlands for their area, for their campus that they're going to need. The county tried to preserve areas for wetlands because the last thing they want to do is to have to mitigate. Don't forget, they have to go through full-scale state and federal permitting to put the road in. So they want to make this as minimal as possible as well. Now, the key, I think, as your city attorney has indicated to you, is these are 2 different issues. The first issue is you have a right-of-way that's being offered. They're going to get impact fee credits as a result of that. That's a deal between the UC and the county. The second issue is the construction of the road. And the construction of the road will take mitigation in some manner. Now, I represent Farmington and Miami Corporation. I could care less as far as us providing any mitigation credits. I love Mike's idea of having the city provide the mitigation. Okay. But you need to create a mitigation bank in order to do that. I think you've got time. That road is not going to be constructed for the next 5 years. Yeah. But you've got a plan for it now because of the fact that the Pioneer Trail interchange is coming. And if you don't, all that traffic's going to be dumped on Sugarbill. And that's what worries me. And so, like I say, my basic thought is from a standpoint of trying to connect the dots. That's all I was trying to do to facilitate. And this was not an easy thing to do.
Okay, thank you. I forgot you didn't represent the applicant.
I don't represent anybody.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
You were here. We just assumed you represented somebody. All right. So we had read this. Curious as we get to the next, we'll get through this and get some feedback and talk about some options we have. All right. Next item up, boards and commissions. Gentlemen, before we do that, I was trying to be judicious. I was trying to save the city clerk some steps, and I screwed it all up. So I handed everyone probably the wrong names. So if you look on the bottom, if you don't have your name, pass it down to the right name. I forgot they had names on them. I just handed them out. I just thought there were 2. Can you hand those to Mike? And then hand that one to Randy. So these are for the golf board. They're for the next one, but just so you know. So I'm missing one. I should have one. All right, so the first item up so this is me, and that's you, Jake. Okay, so the first item up is the Animal Control Board. We have 3 appointments to serve 2-year terms. The terms of Lori, Alfred, and Sarah expired on September 13th. A couple of these folks, Alfred and Sarah, have moved out of the area, therefore they're not eligible. Ms. Crane has served 2 terms, which is the term limit unless waived by the commission. All right, so we have 3 vacancies, 2 are out, 1 has reached their term limit, so they would have to be reappointed. They would have to be waived by us.
Reference fees? Oh, I'm sorry. All I have is 2 golf boards.
Yeah, those are for the golf board. We don't need one for this one in theory, so we don't have ballots for this one. All right. So the current criteria, this one is the one, if you remember, we have all these criteria about you got to know what a lizard is and all this stuff. So number 1, you got to have a licensed veterinarian. We have one of those. So you have to have a Southeast Volusia Humane Society representative. That was Sarah, so we were missing that. We have to have an animal owner. We have to have 2 of those. Lori represents one of those. And then we have to have a non-animal owner. And Alfred is that, and we lost that. Okay. So, gentlemen, we have 3 applicants and we have 3 vacancies. The 3 applicants very well represent the 3 things that we need. One of them, Brianna, is a SEVH member. Kelly is a non-animal owner. And Christian is an animal owner. So we have 3 vacancies with very specific criteria. We have 3 applications. So the clerk's recommendation is basically we accept these 3 nominations and appoint these 3 board members. What is the commission's pleasure?
These are for 3-year terms?
It is for 2-year terms, I believe. They are...
Shouldn't it be 3?
2.
It's a 2-year term.
Terms are 2 years.
This is not an advisory board. It's an actual board that was formed by an ordinance, the Animal Control Board. So the advisory boards have been all changed to reflect 3 years. The ones that were formed by ordinances, we haven't gone over yet. We're just going strictly by the ordinance, which is 2-term limits, 2-year terms.
Well, then if they're going to expire in 2024, aren't we missing something?
It's September 13th, 2023, unless it's written.
Okay, it's 2024 in mine. I don't care, personally.
Yeah, they're going to expire 2023.
Okay.
May just be a typo somewhere.
Is anyone term limited out?
Yes, so the Sarah, or no, is it Sarah?
Lori.
Sorry, Lori. Yeah, Lori is term limited out, and she's not one of the, she has expressed her desire to serve, so we could waive that requirement and reappoint her, but we also have 3 applicants that fit the very detailed requirements. Commissioner Clody.
Oh, if appropriate, I make a motion that we we appoint all 3 of those people to 2-year terms ending on September 13, 2023.
Okay, I had a motion to appoint Brianna, Kelly, and Christian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, City Clerk, if you'd call a roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk? Yes. Vice Mayor Sachs?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, these folks have... I just want to know how that phone call goes when you call up Kelly, like, hey, do you own a pet? Like, she's like, what is this, a trick question? I'm applying for the animal board. Like,
No, I just explained the criteria.
no, I know. I'm just saying it. That one always cracks me up. Like,
You hear shh.
yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Be quiet, Fluffy.
So we just used our discretion and we chose to let Lori stay.
No, so Lori was not reappointed. She had termed out. So she had served 2 terms. She had a desire and willingness to continue serving.
Yes.
But it's the commission's pleasure. Traditionally, if we have applicants for boards, we have been reappointing and observing term limits. If we do not have applicants, there have been occasions in the past where we have reappointed someone for lack of applicants. In this case, we had 3 new applicants to serve.
Yes.
So Lori, we thank her for her service, but she is no longer serving, and then the other 2 have moved out of the area. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So to be clear, Lori, Alfred, and Sarah are now off. We thank them. They gave great service, and Brianna, Kelly, and Christian are now appointed. All right. Item 10B, Golf Advisory Board. You have two ballots in front of you. We have a term that has expired of Nancy Liu, and she has moved outside of, or she is outside of the area, and we adopted an ordinance that said that we want those folks to be inside. So she has declined reappointment. We have numerous applications, so we basically have one vacancy and numerous applications. So I'm accepting nominations. We'll begin at the end. Commissioner Colodi.
Richard Neat, he's applied in the past. He plays golf at least 3 times a week at the golf course. I've spoken with him. He's very knowledgeable in playing, obviously, as well as the facility.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Richard Neat. Vice Mayor, any nominees?
Oh, another embarrassment of riches. We have great people, but I will pick Todd Benedict.
Todd Benedict is the Vice Mayor. Commissioner McGurk, any nominations? Okay, Commissioner Hartman, any nominations?
I'd nominate Kate Minnock. She has experience with golf outings and stuff like that. I think she'd be an asset to the board.
Okay. I have no nominations. So, gentlemen, if you would, of those 3 choices only, that was Kate Minnick, Richard, and Todd, Richard Neat and Todd Benedict. Of those 3, if you'd make a selection, pass your things to the left. Thank you. So if any one person gets 3 votes, they will be nominated. If not, we'll take the 2 top vote getters and have a second ballot.
Okay. Vice Mayor Sachs voted for Mr. Benedict. Commissioner McGurk and Commissioner Hartman voted for Ms. Minnick, and Commissioner Colodi and Mayor Owen voted for Mr. Neat. So
Okay.
one more.
So we're going to do a second ballot, gentlemen. That's between Kate Minnick and Richard Neat. So only of those 2, make a selection. Kate Minnick, Richard Neat are the top 2 vote getters. And this will be through a 3-year term expiring September 1st, 2024.
Commissioner Hartman and Commissioner McGurk voted for Kate Minnick. Vice Mayor Sachs, Commissioner Colodi, and Mayor Owen voted for Richard Neat. So it's Richard Neat.
All right. Thank you all for being willing to serve. Thank you to Mr. Neat. Look forward to your contributions to that fine board. All right. Next item is Mayor and Commission reports. We'll begin with the Vice Mayor as always.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll be brief. Oral surgeon put some stitches in my mouth, so you get the pleasure of a short report. This recent September 11th was very meaningful, being the 20th anniversary. Every anniversary is kind of hard on me. I was raised in the New York area, and we actually watched the towers go up. You could look across the Hudson River and see the 10 stories below the ground that the foundations of the buildings were built on. I got off duty soon before retirement from the fire service, came home, was ready for my routine of having a pot of coffee and going for a jog. I normally turn on the TV, and there before me sits one tower with a gaping hole and fire coming out of it. I knew what had happened. There was no question. The second just confirmed it for me. But most importantly was joining our firefighters for the city of New Smyrna Beach. The tremendous esprit de corps that they displayed was just moving and awesome, and I know they felt it too. So I want to thank them again. They spread the beautiful flag across the 44 towers, and people honked their horns, and it was just a great fellowship. and I pray for the families. There are still ill people that worked on the grounds trying to recover their brothers and sisters, and they're still ill. So I will always keep them in mind. I will never forget. Thank you all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Well said. Your comments that day were also very well done. Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to apologize for not being able to make the ceremony. Unfortunately, the business environment is very challenging these days, and so I was actually in my store getting it ready, opening up. I like to joke, people say, I never see you in there, and I say, yes, if everything is going as planned, you won't see me in there. So, tough business environment. So, I do want to extend my gratitude towards the first responders who sacrifice and take their lives into their hands every time they go out on duty. Everybody remembers exactly what they were doing very vividly that morning. I also want to extend my deepest sympathies to the McElfresh family. Young man, young wife, young kids. Terrible. I hope somehow there's a miraculous recovery. And I'd like to let city staff know, please let us know what we can do. I saw Kim earlier, she's not here anymore, but anyway, let us know, keep us posted, let us know what is happening, and anything we can do to help. There's a meal train going on, some contributions. It's devastating for a young family. Thank you, Mayor.
So I also want to comment on the 9/11 ceremony. I think it was a tremendous job that the fire chief did, and the crew and the guys that were there. Certainly do appreciate it. Like Jake, I was actually on duty that day at a station right outside of Orlando International Airport. And when all of those planes were grounded, it was so eerie to walk outside the station and hear nothing flying over the station. It was so unreal. But it was this week has been a unique one, because where we celebrated the anniversary of 9/11, we also went to a swearing-in ceremony where 2 new young police officers were sworn in, and I assume they're out there today or during the regular shift. So I want to commend the chief for all the hard work that he's done to make sure that our staffing levels are up, and I want to wish them the best, that they'll have a fruitful career in the police service. Thank you.
Commissioner Colodi.
I'd originally told Fire Chief that I wanted to speak at the ceremony before I realized that I wasn't going to be in state. So I couldn't. I'm going to try next year. I wanted to issue or give my thoughts and perspective on a person who lived in New Jersey at that time, who was involved in a local government where we sent our volunteer fire department there, where my son's friends were on the Port Authority Police, and they were there, where one of my main contractor friends' daughter had literally walked out of Cantor Fitzgerald's office 15 minutes before the plane hit. And because of the mayhem, among everything else, he didn't know for 12 hours that she was okay. I had other friends that perished. A lot of people who are still affected by it up there. And I hope I can manage to get my calendar correct so I can speak next year at it. It's interesting that in this area here we have a number of ceremonies on it, which I appreciate and understand. Where I was out of state, it was in Georgia. It was as if nothing happened. They really didn't experience it. And for a number of years, I always used to think that down here nobody remembered, not like from up there, because you go into every town in North Jersey, and there's a monument to it, and the monument contains pieces of the beams out of the actual towers that were constructed. So It's a memory that's going to slip, just like World Harbor Day often falls by the wayside. But it's nice to keep the memory very specific for as long as we can. So that's my comments.
Okay. So I had just two things, and one, I hope you are in town, and I hope you do speak at the event. There's one of the parts of being in this particular seat up here is you're often the giver of speeches, and I have no issue with that. But there's many of these events there's a few that I feel very inadequate. That words are hard to come by, and there's folks like, you have very personal experiences to some of these things. I have some former firefighters, so always happy to yield the podium to someone if you ever feel the burden to speak on something like that. Because while I certainly remember it and was impacted, and had the 6 degrees of separation applies, and I think every person in America was touched in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But certainly one of those, the first event for me, I was probably, I don't know, I was in my teens when it happened. So it was one of the first events where it was like, I knew the minute it happened that I would never forget exactly where I was. And I'd heard my mom for years talk about, she remembers when JFK was shot and different things, like you codified that immediately in your mind, and I knew immediately that's what had happened. But still, even as a young man, didn't realize quite, maybe didn't have the weight it has now as a father, and as other things, just probably didn't quite comprehend it, didn't hit me maybe as hard even then as it does now sometimes. Also hits a lot different, for me at least, in this role, because we attend the swearing-ins. We're here for the pinnings. You look the families in the eye, and you shake the mom and dad's hands, and you see the pride and the love and all those things. And so all of that, I always had immense respect for first responders, but all of that has become a lot more personal for me, because I truly do feel like they're an extension of my family and a part of our team, and their people. It's been very humanized for me in a very real way, and I wish that could happen for more people. And so that's when things like what happens to the officer in Daytona that was shot, and then when you have a member of your family that's hurting and fighting for their life like Jeremy is tonight, we just, it's very real, and your heart goes out to them and then the family and those that are impacted. So we certainly wish them the best. I concur with Commissioner McGurk. Please keep us in the loop and let us know if there's anything we can do. I do think Heather had mentioned there is a vigil tomorrow morning at the hospital at 9 a.m., I believe. So I can't be there, but hopefully some may be able to be there at that vigil. I think that is a public thing outside the France Tower, the North Tower there at the hospital. So I'm sure Colin and Heather can give you all more information if anybody's able to be there with the family and the team. So the second thing I want to say just really, really quick is, I touched on it briefly in my comments on 9/11. We've had this kind of erosion of civility as I thought about what 9/11 meant, and then I think about the days after 9/11 and what I felt then, and that unity we felt as a country, even though we definitely weren't any more united on many issues than we were the day before, but those issues were kind of put back in the rightful place as being much smaller than the ideals that we had as a country and as a people. And you're seeing that slip away, and certainly at the federal level, but what's alarming to me even more is you're seeing it slip away at the neighborhood level, at the neighbors level, at the community level, and you're seeing it even at this level. You're seeing it in city commission chambers where they can't, it's party line votes, and they can't agree. And not only do they not agree, but they can't agree on decorum. They can't agree on how to conduct business to the good of the people. So I want to take a minute, and I genuinely mean this, to thank this commission. Kyle and I were talking earlier. We have more 3-2 votes than I know of. It's not that we agree on every issue by any stretch, but we focus on the issues and we tackle the issue. We don't address. We're not attacking each other. We attack the problem. We each give our thought and opinion on it, and then we make the decision. We vote, and then that issue is in the rearview mirror, and we agree to work on the next issue. And there's no baggage. There's no carryover. I've never once felt well, so-and-so won't support that because that person didn't support their thing. Like, I genuinely feel like that this commission, you all make this an easy job. I've watched a lot of other commission meetings. We read the news reports on other things that are happening in other cities up and down the coast and across the state, and they don't have the decorum and I believe the mutual respect that we all have of each other, of the chair position, whether that's me or anybody else, of the chair position, and of the general public. So I genuinely wanted to tell you all I appreciate it. You make this particular job, easy because you respect this position, you respect each other, you respect our community enough to focus on the issues and agree to disagree when the time is appropriate. But genuinely, I mean it. I thank you for doing that because I've seen it the other way, and we could easily slip to that. But I appreciate it. And I actually like that, look, everybody, the national politics is becoming so invaded at the local level, and we can't agree on many things because we disagree maybe on a national political point. So now we can't even agree on what to do on a local thing because you're not on the same team as I am, and I don't feel that up here. And there's times that I know basically what party everybody is, a national party, but I don't feel like that doesn't impact where we vote. The votes don't fall in that ranking. Many items, I have no clue before we vote before we start discussion. I don't know how you're going to vote on something just based on, this is what the party said. We don't play that game up here, and I genuinely hope, of all the things, we will soon be a footnote in the history books of New Smyrna. It's been around for a long time, and it'll be around for a long time, and we'll just be a little footnote. And my one hope of all things that we can pass on that tradition of decorum and respect to the next generation of leaders that sit up here after us, hopefully in the same building for many decades to come. So those are my comments. City Manager, your report, sir.
You have the report, Mayor. If you have any questions, Joanna, for the sake of time.
Any questions or comments of the City Manager? We all have the report. It's in the agenda. Hearing no questions. Thank you. City Clerk, anything to report?
My apologies. I just realized that the Animal Control Board Commissioner Colodi was referring to, when it was first published, said 2024. When I republish, I usually send an email out.
I got you.
And you'd have to refresh your iPads to get the latest.
So there was a typo probably in what you saw. Good catch. But it is 2023.
That's what I read.
All right. Your eyes didn't trick you. Any report?
That was it, no.
Okay, thank you for that. City Attorney.
Just a brief update. The Circuit Court issued its ruling today in the Borrow Pit. Once again quashed the City Commission's decision. So I assume we'll be hearing from the applicant's representative in the next day or two, and you could probably expect for that item to be back before the Commission again.
Lovely. All right. If no other business before this board, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.